organizations.
Now, on that base, I don't know if it was classified or not. Was there any nuclear weapons stored?
We had storage, Priority A storage at Bentwaters. That's now declassified. It was secret at the time.
Did they have the capabilities to launch anything at that time, nuclear?
No. They're just storage. I think they were probably, we had a mission change in 79 where they got rid of the F-4s. So I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that they're probably for the F-4s. But no, there's no way to launch them. They're just storage.
Interesting. So,
why? Have you heard rumors?
Well, you hear all kinds of rumors. Yeah, that was.
I tell you what, Gary, it's this is part of the reason we wrote this book, because all these rumors that have been just running around for the last 39 years. It's crazy. I think what it is, I don't think people are lying. I just think that not everybody had a clear picture of what's going on. And I think they have, from their vantage point, and, let's face it, if you're an airman and you have a secret clearance, you don't have much of a vantage point.
Oh, that's true. Compared to, like the majors, colonels, and generals, it probably would. Now, were you working security there?
Yes, big difference between security and law enforcement. I must bring that up because law enforcement was more like police work. They would, do base guard, gate guards, domestic occurrences, stuff like that. If they had an alarm on the commissary or something like that, they'd respond to a controlled area. Security was there for protection of the base and the priority A, B, and C resources that were located on the base. And, of course, all the personnel. And what the security's main mission is to make sure the 81st Tactical Fighter Wing could complete its mission.
Interesting. Take us back in time that night when things started, turning up strange.
Well, it was Christmas time, December 25th. It was we were working 12-hour shifts. The security was. Law enforcement was working their regular 8 due to the holidays. That's why we were working the 12s. And it was getting around midnight, and we had just we had posted earlier. We drove the Metro bus. They have a Metro over. I posted, my security teams, my entry control points, and all that stuff in the restricted areas. And I just got done doing a perimeter lighting check. That was complicated. You had to write down the ones that were burned out. I mean, that wasn't too hard. And I had arranged with Sergeant McCulley. He was Security 6. He was the security response team leader for the base itself. I was the Woodbridge supervisor for security. And we were going to meet at the Chow Hall and have morning breakfast around midnight. Get there, and I just started getting my gear off, put my gun down. And Sergeant McCulley said, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "What? They're trying to get hold of you on the radio." And they told me the 1012, CSC to call, which means to call CSC. So I did, and we had a direct line there at the Chow Hall. And Sergeant Coffey says, "Jim, you need to get to the East Gate immediately. They got a situation out there." I said, "Oh, really?" And I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, they'll brief you when you get there, the law enforcement patrolmen." Which was odd, because anytime there's a situation, I want to know what it is before I get there. And he said they would brief me, so that was different. Then he told me to run code 2, which was with lights on. So I said, "Is it hostile?" And they go, No. They'll brief you when you get there. So on a recreation we done, it takes exactly at 40 miles an hour. It takes about 3 minutes to get there. 4 minutes. And so when I arrived, I met with the 2 patrolmen. The senior patrolman was Staff Sergeant Bud Steffens, and the airman with them was Airman Burrows. And I said, Bud, what's going on? Oh, Bud's his first name. So I said, Bud, what's going on? And he's pointing over toward Rendlesham Forest area, which is about 150, 200 yards away. And I could see light emanating from the forest at the bottom. And then, stranger than that, was a light bubble above the canopy of the forest. And so at that point in time in my career, I'd probably been to, 20, 22, 23 aircraft crashes, maybe. Quite a few. And I thought the only possibility might have been a crash. So I said to Bud, I says, did you see a crash? And he goes, oh, no. He said, it didn't crash. He said, it landed. And I'm thinking to myself, it's impossible for anything to land in that forest. The trees are like 5 feet apart. I said, was it a chopper? And he goes, no. He said, it wasn't a chopper. He wouldn't, and he was adamant. I said, okay. So I go to the direct line over at the east gate. It's just a gate check. It has a direct line to law enforcement. Once I arrived at the scene, it was no longer a law enforcement. It's called chopping, change of operational command and control. It's no longer law enforcement. Now it's security. And so I get the hold of the law enforcement desk that said, patch me right through the Central Security Control. And they did. And when I did that, all this what I'm telling you happened in probably a couple minutes, okay, maximum. When they picked up the phone, Sergeant Coffey, I also had Sergeant Gillard, the comm plotter. I had Sergeant Chandler, the flight sergeant. I had Lieutenant Moran, the shift commander. All these people, like 5 people, are on this line. And I explained that, there's what appears to be a fire or something in the woods. I talked to Sergeant Steffens, and he says that it wasn't a crash. He says it landed, whatever it was out in the forest. I said, it's putting out a lot of light. And in the middle of this conversation, the Sergeant Dillard comes back on, and he says, well, he had been coordinating the radar. He says, well, Heathrow radar, Bentwaters, and Broadsea, they have confirmed it triangulated. They lost contact with a bogey, a aircraft that didn't have a transponder, which means it's probably military, about 15 minutes before the phone call. So that was an emergency situation at that time, and that was the only way we could deploy off base in the middle of shift is during an emergency, according to the status of forces agreement that we have with the British. And Lieutenant Moran got a hold of the base commander, Colonel Conrad, through the wing command post, and got permission for us to go ahead and investigate the possible downed aircraft. So I took myself and 2 other airmen, the law enforcement airman, Burrows, and a security airman, Cabanzak. And so I'm in our vehicles at the time. We carried aircraft crash kits. And that just tells you how many times, aircraft crashed. They crashed a lot over there.
Now, I got to ask you a question. I mean, what was the thoughts going, Jim, in your mind when all this was transpiring?
Well, like I said, I've been through a lot of aircraft crashes, and it just didn't make sense. I said that because the coloring wasn't right. I couldn't hear any noise from it, like burning or explosions or nothing like that. There was no smell. Of course, all this could be rationalized, by the wind direction and stuff like that. So the part that keyed my interest is the part about the triangular radar. When they said there was a craft over at Woodbridge Base, they lost contact with it 15 minutes ago. Well, that seems pretty obvious. It went down. And that's pretty much, so I'm implementing, my security response option for a downed aircraft. Inside my vehicle, I got the crash kit. I pull out of that the plotting board because I'm going to go out there and set up an entry control point for first responders, like fire department, medical, mortuary, stuff like that. And it's pretty much routine. I mean, you're trained to do that. It's and then you have enough experience. It's not that out of the ordinary. And so, what else did I take out of that crash kit? I took I took a camera. We have a camera that was in there. What you normally do at an aircraft crash is take pictures of it if it's classified, a weapon component or something like that. Usually, all the crashes I've been to prior to that, there's never a survivor. Okay, they're usually pretty. That's usually not a concern. But anyway, go out there and you're supposed to secure the area, set up a 360, set up an entry control point for responding forces. That's what I thought I was going to do.
Interesting. And I take it here, and guess what? We're going to go on break here in a minute and a half. Again, have you had nightmares at all ever since this situation?
Oh, God, yes. I tell you what, I've had 39 years of them. I still have them. People ask me, so how can you tell such detail about the incident? I said, well, it just happened a couple of days ago or last night or something like that. I mean, it's all the time. It's better than it was. I take medication and that now that helps me. Yeah, they're the alpha blocker. They block you from dreaming and having nightmares, so that helps.
Well, I better check in that for myself because I tell you, I was in the last part of NOM, and I tell you what, sometimes I don't even. I'll
tell you after we get off the air, I will tell you exactly what I'm taking, and then ask your doctor to give it to you. It works great.
That's what I need, because I'll go months without it, and all of a sudden I'll have a vivid dream. All of a sudden, instead of being an old man, I'm back, like 19 years old again.
Yep, exactly.
Well, Jim, just hang on. We'll be back in 4 minutes. We're going to be back with Jim Penniston. We're going to be talking about what happened near that RAF airfield in the UK. We'll be back. And, check out our website again at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. And we'll be back.